speaking of Superman and Lois, the Bizarro World episode was amazing. Had no doubts, had no doubts. I was glued to the screen, but I didn't expect to get so angry while watching Bizarro World. Bizarro John and I are not friends. Like, I need him to treat people better.
I know. I feel like, okay, like, can I just say Jordan Elsass did such a great job as Bizarro Jonathan. I know when those first set photos came out and everyone was like, OMG, they're going the whole Superboy of the 90s route, where he had the t-shirt, the red pants, the smoky eyeliner and the earrings. Like, it was a look. And not only did he pull it off, he pulled off the characterization really, really well. It was like, you did start rooting for him at the start, and then as you saw that villain story play out and how he turned and all the things working into it, it was really great to say. And I'm kind of glad it's not just a one and done story for the character and that he's now on our Earth. Here we go again with the multiverse references. I can't wait now that he's on Earth Prime. I can't wait to see what that leads to, because my goodness, what a character that was, what a performance that was. And I'm kind of, look, we haven't had this kind of Arrowverse two character synergy in such a long time, since no doppelgangers can exist on the same Earth anymore. But the mirror, or the Bizarro World, is not a parallel Earth, so that's okay. But to see the two Jonathans interact across from each other, I'm really excited to see that. But like, what an episode from an aesthetic standpoint, what an episode from like a standalone standpoint, without question one of the best episodes Superman and Lois has ever done. Confusing at times because obviously it did the whole character reset, let's tell you their story, and they did the whole like Batman and Robin kind of intertitle, letting you know which character was next. But my goodness, I love that episode from start to finish. It was so good.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't know what was going on, but I was living. It was great. They really committed to that aesthetic. It was like Cruella, the new Cruella, and like it was giving that. What were they doing? They were like a movie premiere or something, or like they're on a red carpet. I don't know. It was giving Britney Spears' Lucky music video. I don't know. I loved it. But yeah, I had no idea what was going on, but I didn't mind because everything looked really cool.
It did. It was like budget, like especially the first like 5 minutes when it's just Clark flying through into the Bizarre World, and like he pops out and he's like, red sun, also cube Earth. What?
It's really fun when they do an episode like that, and it was the same with the Superman Origins one we saw last season. A brief reminiscence in between cataclysmic events. What a beautiful title that episode had. But it's really interesting because yes, Superman and Lois is filmed in Vancouver just like the other shows, but it's obviously filmed that in the countryside, hence the farm and everything. So it's really cool when they get to do an episode set in the city and you get to see all those same buildings that appear in all the other shows, but you can tell the difference in the way it's shot. It never looks like it's the same city. Superman always takes such a great care with its cinematography to give it that movie-like feel. And it looked even more unique from this through that like reddish lens they went with the whole episode, seeing the sights. There was no expense spared as far as like visuals went. It was so cool to see all that, to see the cities, to see the farm with the red sky, to see the emo like outfits. It was such a unique experience. And watching the whole thing, it felt like, I'm glad they made us wait for that episode, because even though it absolutely helped the main storyline in no capacity whatsoever, because it was set on a different Earth, it was just so much fun just for it. Like, that felt like you were watching a comic book, but yet it also had the heart and the drama that Superman and Lois is known for. So I was glad Superman and Lois got to put on like the comic book hat, because they rarely steer into that territory these days. So it was like watching a short movie, and like, what a movie it was.
Sure, for sure. So to piggyback off of what you said about the comic book thing, they always do it for their special episodes. But I really love the attention to detail that was in this episode, like you mentioned, like the red lens that they used, but also it would go away when there was no windows. So of course, when you're on the Kent farm, it's super red. But the minute you step into a bar or an enclosure where there aren't any windows, it looks like it would normally look if you're watching Superman and Lois. In fact, actually, I think it looked even a little brighter, more crisp. When you were in those sequences. They did such a stellar job, and it really, really was on Jordan Elsass's shoulders to carry this episode. Because yes, you have Bitsy, you have Tyler, but it's his episode, because a lot of the emotional weight of what's going on, is threaded through him, even with our Clark's reactions to him. It's him telling the story of what happened. Like we're seeing everybody else's perspectives, but a lot of it seems to be through this Jonathan's perspective. And it was he did a really great job. Like he just truly did carry the weight of this episode. I am going to need for them to respect Bizarro Lois. She was there to get yelled at the entire time. And I was like, can she get an ally? Can she get a friend? Please.
Yeah. And she did have one great moment, which I thought was incredible. And I have to credit both, obviously, Tyler and Bitsy. This sounds like any other episode, but I really do have to credit the two of them for the performance. That scene outside the farm where Cal and Lois were roaring at each other, and like Jordan was just like sitting there in the car in the background. That was that was a powerful scene. And Bizarro was, we all connected with Bizarro because it was such an unusual character, but it was great to connect with them on like an emotional standpoint, because you finally got to see what he was going through, the pressure on his shoulders, but more so how he did things wrong. And he was very arrogant at the start of the episode. It was like, he was like, what kind of route are they going for here? And then just you really did feel for him in the end, because he was desperately trying to redeem himself. And I think all in all, he kind of has, even though the story's not over yet. And just the emotion behind that scene between the two of them, what great performances.
It's amazing. You could see the contrast between them and the Clark and Lois that we know, and how Lois seemed to actually be somewhat the same, not as very take charge as Lois that we know, but still very vocal. And that fight was amazing, especially because, the undercurrent is he's an addict, and he won't even acknowledge that he's an addict. He just keeps talking about all the pressure that's on him. And it's like, narcissist, please, like listen to your wife and your children. But I get though, at that point, everything was slipping away from him. He lost one son. Now Lois is taking his other son, and she's leaving too, and he's being left alone at the Kent farm. And I'm going to assume in this universe, both his parents are gone too. So then you just have an alone Clark. And what does Clark look like when he's alone? He looks damaged. And he struggles so much to really find connection. I feel like that parallels the Clark that we do know, though, because our Clark is very community driven and very much about the people, protecting the people that he loves and making sure that they feel taken care of. And this Clark did not respond the way that he needed to respond. And you can see what happens when you do that. Your family like basically crumbles in front of your eyes.
Yeah, and I feel like that was one of my favorite parts of the episode, that you got to see his relationships with everyone, and they kind of crumbled and fell apart, because as we know, Clark is such a community-driven person. And one of my favorite parts, and I'm eager to hear Reed's thoughts on this, was the kind of like relationship that built up between him and Talro. It was nice to see like such like a brotherly bond. I knew we'd all like, well, maybe not you, Sabrina. I knew we'd all like him when we found out he was going to be back. But it was so, because I know they've kind of been teasing a redemption for him throughout season 2. And like, we have definitely been getting our fill of him, because he's like popped up every 3 episodes, even though he's not a regular this season. But they've kind of been teasing that throughout the main arc, that he will redeem himself. And now we saw what a redeemed Talro could look like in this world. He was close to Clark from the very beginning. He was so nice. You got to see how he fell for Lana. And then he had that pivotal moment in the end where he just like whooshed Lana away. It was like, go save your son. And seeing him in that role makes me excited for the real Talro to do that at some point in time. But yeah, what do you think? Were you happy to see your man back, Reed?
When I tell you I gasped, was not I never expect him to pop up, and when he does, it's always like it takes me back. Yeah, I love that. The theme of me in this episode was I was confused, but I didn't ask questions. I was like, sure, he's back. I loved it. It was great.
Did you like his whole connection with Lana? I'm assuming she's either she's the bartender, waitress. I don't know. I was hoping she owned the bar, but did you like the two of them?
I don't know. It was weird. I don't know.
It progressed.
Undecided.
Yeah. It progressed very quickly, but I was like, that's my 2 favorite characters. It progressed very quickly, but it was can I just say it was so great to see Lana as Superwoman. I kind of wish we got a little bit more of that. It was so cool just to see her. We've talked about how they keep her apart from the comic book version of the story. They always have her involved in more realistic stuff. And as we know, she the newly crowned mayor. I can't wait to see what that arc holds for. But it was really nice just to see her getting down and gritty with the comic book aspect this week. The outfit, everything. It was just so nice to see her involved in that story. There was no questions. There's no when's Lana going to find this out. She was fully in tune with everything from the beginning. And it makes me excited for when that eventually happens on the show for her to be involved in those stories, because my goodness, it was just what a hero. It was so great seeing her like that.
It was, and I think we're getting close to perhaps Lana finding out or being told, I don't know, that the preview that they showed for the next episode as because I was like, Lana looks like she's about to be learning some information about the Kent family. And I'm very, very excited for that possibility. Like, please let it happen. I want to see her reaction.
When I watched that trailer, there's a scene where I think she walking off from Clark in the same coat with the same scarf and the same hoop earrings that she did that famous storm off from Kyle. And I was like, oh, we're getting the big Lana moment here. So I wonder, will she find out now? Will she find out via the wrong means? Is there something else going on? Why is she storming off from Clark, who she's literally never had a bad word to say about since the beginning of the show? So that's really exciting. I can't wait to see what comes next. And I say that both as a fan of the previous episode, but also just an excitement to get back to the main storyline. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes next. And that dynamic's probably one of the most exciting ones for me.